with this book study, The Vortex, and we are starting today on page 64, and our topic remains parenting, which is what we were discussing previously. So, you know, the one thing that I've learned from Abraham is that because children are newer to earth experience, they haven't yet had the opportunity to pick up as many negative beliefs as adults have. And so children are always closer to source. That is why it's so easy to distract a child. There's so many times when people come to me and they say, I have this problem. I know I should not be thinking about it, but I don't know how to stop thinking about it. You know, and with a child, it's so easy. You give them an empty box to play with and they forget about it. Right? Hi, Deborah. Good to see you. So, in essence, we want to be more childlike. We want to be more childlike in that sense that we want to still have the ability to enjoy little things. We want to go back to the time and have that energy to wake up in the morning and jump out of bed with excitement for what's waiting to happen. And I remember that as a child being super excited when we were going somewhere or something special was going to happen, but it wasn't like on other days I didn't jump out of bed. You always jumped out of bed. So why do we lose that exuberance for life? We lose that exuberance for life because we start thinking about all the problems. All right, so let's go here. Jerry asked a question, and we covered that last time. And our discussion today is a continuation. So I'm going to read that question again. Jerry's question was, don't many of our disempowering thoughts begin in childhood? In other words, how much influence do adults have on the way children begin to think? And are children doomed to continue the patterns of resistant thought that they learn from their parents? And Abraham's response to that was, we discussed some of it last time, and we are continuing on page 64 with the heading, Are You Blessed with a Difficult Child? That's the heading that we are starting with just now. And what that means is, sorry, I'm just going to my iPad so I can keep an eye on comments from Facebook. Just one second. So, what is a problematic child? A problematic child is a child who won't listen to you. They are refusing. Basically, those are children who are refusing to buy into your negativity. That's basically what it is. They are refusing to buy into your negativity. And they want to do things their way, because why do children want to do things their way? Why do you think that is? It's because children understand something that we don't understand. And that is, they are in control. They understand that they are in control. That is something that we forget. Eventually, we forget that we are truly in control of our own life experience. Children don't forget that. And that's why they are like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to make my own decision about what I want to do. They trust their ability to decide for themselves what is good for them and what is not good for them, what is right for them and what is not right for them. And that's the difference. All right. Guys, sorry. Good. All right, I have everything set up. Awesome. So on the first paragraph on page 64, Abraham says, they are often labeled by their parents and teachers as problematic or troubled children. But these are children who are holding on to their broader perspective, who are more in alignment with their inner being than they are with people around them. So anyone here, have you been a problem child? Anybody here was a problem child? Yeah, me too. I was a problem child. No? You were a good little boy, Andrew? Lakshmi as well? Okay, I was a problem child from time to time. Eventually they got me. But then I came back. Alright, so Abraham says many people have been socialized in the sense that they commonly seek the approval of others, and they often live very difficult lives because it is no simple task to determine which of the influential people who surround them they should bend to. So very early in life we get trained into doing what we are told. Do what you're told, otherwise there will be repercussions. And so many people make the effort to fit in because they don't want to create problems. So children intuitively want to find the path of least resistance. And that is not a bad thing. Finding the path of least resistance as a child where your freedom is can be curtailed, you give in to your parents because at that point in time, that is the path of least resistance. So many people who have spent many years making an effort to fit in do not make trouble, and to find approval from others, they finally reach the point of recognizing the futility of it, because no matter how hard they try to please others, the list of those who are not pleased with them always remains longer than the list of those who are pleased. And who gets to decide what the right way of living is anyway? Who gets to decide that I can't sleep in? Why can't I decide? I don't want to go to school today. I want to be home. Or, like my daughter was the opposite. She kicked up a fuss in the morning when it was a holiday because she wanted to go to school. Because she wanted to play with her friends. So, you know, who decides what's right? And then Abraham says, you are living in the wonderful time of awakening. This is the time when more people will come into conscious realization of their own value. And isn't that so true? Oh my God. So much more literature. There's so much more literature about it. There is so much more awareness about it. The word manifesting has become fashionable. Even people who don't know what it means will use it. But eventually, I think they'll find out what it means and start using it the correct way. So yeah, we are very much living in the time of awakening. This is the time when more people will come into conscious realization of their own value. And isn't this one of the reasons why there are so many more problem children around? I mean, think about it. What is an autistic child? An autistic child is a child who will not listen. What is it? A child, a transgender child, or you know, a child who doesn't want to be told what gender they should subscribe to. What's that? Right? So there are these children who are coming into the world who absolutely refuse to subscribe to the philosophies of the people around them. Sure, Jennifer, you're always welcome. Good to have you here, and Candy as well. Good to see you here. So then Abraham is saying it is the time when fewer people will attempt the impossible task of pushing the unwanted far enough away that they will be left only with that which is wanted. Now I want to say this brings to my attention something, and that is a lot of people now are aware that they should stand up for themselves, that self-worth is important. But and authenticity has become another buzzword, right? Be authentic. I want to be authentic. The problem with the masses understanding authenticity just now, and that is an area where I feel more improvement is on its way and will happen, is that people now understand the value of being authentic, but they still don't know how to be authentic. Because authenticity at the end of the day is coming from a place of love. When you always show up from a place of love, that's being authentic. Throwing a tantrum because you're angry, that is not an authentic moment, because you're not high on the emotional scale. So there's more learning needed on that front, and it will come. It will come. It is coming. Because every year more and more people are gravitating towards law of attraction in general, and more people are gravitating towards the teachings of Abraham. In the end, the teachings of Abraham are the purest law of attraction message. That is not, that has the complete picture, and you can explain everything with it. So I think that we have a gift here in this book and other books that Abraham has written that is invaluable, really. Okay, so let's keep going. People will come to the realization that what they have been long seeking is not a change in the behavior of others or in the world outside of them, over which they have no control, but instead an understanding of their own vibrational relationship with Source, over which they have complete control. And so the one thing, when someone comes to me, sometimes people bring the oddest things. Well, maybe not odd to them, odd to me. And maybe that's me now. It certainly was not me 20 years ago. Because I grew up in that atmosphere where this kind of a thing was very common. Somebody came to me not long ago and said, if I write this affirmation on a piece of paper and put it under my pillow and then I sleep, my subconscious will absorb it and it will become true. And I said to her very gently, sweetheart, that's not how it works, because now you're giving your power to a piece of paper and a bunch of words. So anything that gives your power to something outside of you is not law of attraction. If anything gives power to something outside of you, here's a button. Carry this button with you and it will turn into a castle. That's not how you create castles out of buttons. So, anything, just keep, this is the rule of thumb. If anything gives power to something outside of you, it is not law of attraction. It is a new way of presenting things that people have been practicing for hundreds of years that have created a lot of misconceptions that fall under Wicca, not law of attraction. It's not law of attraction. And so, and the interesting thing is, YouTube had already served up a YouTube video to me with this ritual, because that's what it is. That's why Abraham calls what they ask us to do a process. A process gives you power. A ritual gives power to something outside of you. So YouTube had already served up to me a video from someone who has close to 1 million subscribers, who has a law of attraction channel, and she is teaching this. So I was like, okay. That's fine. Not my monkey, not my circus. I'll just teach what I know to be true. So guys, I just want you to make that differentiation between what is a ritual and what is a process. That's an important distinction. If you're practicing a ritual, there's another one that's really, really popular among people, and that's the 2-cup method. And I actually did a video about the 2-cup method on my channel, which is simply, if you pour water from this cup into this cup, and you have written on this cup what you don't want, and this cup has what you want, you just take this water, you pour it into this cup, and then you drink it, and you know your life is going to change. That's not giving you power. It's a ritual. Rituals don't give you power. So don't get sucked into that kind of thinking. Keep your power within you. All right. Let's move on to the heading, how can one move from disharmony to harmony? And this is a really good question that Jerry asked Abraham. If you were a child, so this is Jerry's question, if you were a child born into a disharmonious environment, or even an employee finding yourself in an unpleasant work environment, how could you remain in such a situation and still maintain a positive personal life experience? Abraham said, the first thing we would encourage you to do is to lay low. Lay low. Try to be as inconspicuous as possible in your awareness of the disharmony. Because if you don't call attention to yourself, then people will not try to convince you that their point of view is right. That's why Abraham is saying that. Lay low so that people don't come after you trying to convince you that their point of view is right. I adopted this philosophy as a problem child. I adopted the philosophy that my parents can control my actions, but they cannot control my thoughts. I adopted that philosophy. So what I started doing was, I laid low. I did what they told me to do, but I didn't buy into it. The difference happens when you buy into it. When my parents said they were right, my inner voice said, I don't know, I'll make up my own mind. It's the programming happens when a parent says, I'm telling you what's right, and the child says, yes, you're right. That's when the programming starts happening. As long as the child can keep their own voice in their head that says, I don't know if you're right, I'm going to make up my own mind, but I'm not going to do any outward actions that make you come after me. I won't do that. And that is the philosophy that I followed. I even had fun with it. Hi Tamika, good to see you here. Rochelle is saying, loving the distinction between LOA and Vika. Yes. All right. Let's keep moving on. So that's what it means to lay low. You don't want to take on people because then they're going to do their damnedest to convince you that they are right. And they'll start keeping more of an eye on you. So that actually happened to me, you know, like I was always the one that was under observation, just in case I misbehaved somehow. So I was always under the microscope. So I realized that if I just follow the outward actions of doing what they want me to do, then they won't pay attention to me and I can think whatever I want. So it's a very useful tool. In actually being unaware of the disharmony, there will be no active vibration of it present within you. So Abraham is taking it even a step further. Abraham is saying it would be wonderful if you could be a child who has no idea that there's some disharmony going on. It would be wonderful if you were an employee who was unaware of the office politics. Because then, if you're not even aware of office politics, it's not affecting you at all. And I've been in that situation where, have you, I don't know if you have, but I have, where someone comes to me and says, oh, did you know, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, had no idea. Didn't know this was going on. And no, thank you. Do not wish to participate. But that's the thing. If you never participate, you don't know what's going on, then you never get caught up in the vibration of it. That's important. That is, in fact, the best way to do things. Just don't even get involved. So Abraham says, law of attraction will then leave you out of any discordant rendezvous. If your vibration isn't there, then you cannot participate. Because people only co-create when they are on the same vibration with each other. So then Abraham says, but if instead you are aware of the unpleasant occurrences, if you seek to quell the injustices by drawing attention to them, then you activate a vibration within you that draws you closer to the unpleasant mix. Oh, and I've seen this happen. This is what it means to shoot the messenger, you know. So this is how messengers get shot. So imagine something's happening in the playground and you're just the observer, you're not participating, but you're the one who runs into the principal's office. Next thing you know, now you are the subject of bullying, right? Because you called attention to yourself. Don't participate. It's not your problem. So why did you run into the principal's office? Well, you ran into the principal's office to quell injustice. Somebody's being picked on. I'm going to take it upon myself to save this person. And now you're part of the same vibration. If from your point of view you identify wrongdoing and you point it out, those participating in the behavior you believe is wrong will rise up larger and push back at you in an attempt to convince you that it is really your point of view that is wrong. Isn't that what happens in every war? And most recently what we are seeing happening? Right? Every time there's a war, that's what it's all about. People wanting other people to accept their point of view as being right. Our forefathers owned this land, so we must own it now. I mean, we've seen it play out in Palestine. We are now seeing it play out in other places. So then you push back and they push back, and the discord looms larger while both sides are deprived of any lasting solution. And isn't that what is happening just now? Who's winning? Both sides. As far as I'm concerned, both sides are losing. Everybody's losing. And not only are both sides losing, both sides have so many casualties. Both sides have, cities are being destroyed. And then the whole world is suffering as well. Because now everybody's getting involved in this. So, Abraham says, all contrast causes an asking for improvement by all parties involved. But usually those involved are pushing so hard against someone else that they render themselves incapable of seeing the solution, even though it might be quite near. So what that means is, if if you're pushing back, that is proof that you're low on the emotional scale. You can't say, oh, I'm high on the emotional scale, but that person is wrong. Because you don't think of people as being right or wrong when you're high on the emotional scale. Because when you're high on the emotional scale, you're aligned with source. And as far as source is concerned, it's just a matter of perspective. There's no right or wrong. So anyone who is high on the emotional scale is not going to side with anyone. They're going to remain neutral. And so it's important to know that. It's important to understand where you are emotionally. And it's important to be able to interpret your actions, because your actions and your manifestations tell you where you are on the emotional scale. right? Oh, I'm always happy, but I'm going to scream at the person at the other end of the line who's trying to help me with something. Okay, then you're not, right? Because your behavior is an indication of where you're coming from on the emotional scale. Okay. So people who are low on the emotional scale, they can't see the solution, even though it's right there. Solutions, the best solutions, are high on the emotional scale. If you're not high on the emotional scale, you can't see the solution, even though it's right there. Seeing what you do not want until you can no longer stand it, and then leaving the situation and going somewhere else, does not bring a lasting solution. Because the reason you left is the dominant vibration within you, which means more scenarios like the one you just walked away from are making their way into your experience again. In other words, you did not change your point of attraction by moving to a new location, to a new job, or to a new relationship. So important to understand this. This is what Abraham says, you take yourself wherever you go. Unless you change your vibration, nothing changes. So, and then again, I've heard Abraham say, relief is not the same as joy. Distinguish between relief and joy. Let me explain what that means. If you are in a relationship and there's whatever, it's just not happening, and you are so upset that you decide to leave, because you are not in that physical space with that person anymore, you feel relief. But a lot of people misinterpret that relief as being joy. Oh, I'm so glad now, I'm happy now, I'm not there. No, as long as you're still telling that story, as long as you're still remembering that in your head and talking to other people about it, you have moved physically, but you have not moved emotionally. So you haven't moved. You've moved your body, but your emotions are still locked in with that situation. So unless you can leave and just say, I'm not going to think about this, it's not my problem anymore, I'm not going to spend any time over it, then you're still there. And that's what makes the difference. That's why Abraham says, make peace with your situation. Make peace with it. Make peace with it. And no need to hang on to the past. Just let it go, because it will hold you back. So then Abraham says, since a powerful desire for improvement is always born out of unpleasant situations, the larger part of you is already experiencing the benefit of the contrast you have lived. And you can, much more easily than many of you believe, begin right now to receive the benefit of that contrast. It may not be easy at first, but it really is as simple as making the best of where you are. And I call that making a decision. Making a decision and being disciplined to stay with that decision. Make a decision and then have the discipline to stay lined up with your decision. Don't dilly-dally, don't wobble, don't go this way and that way. Make a decision and then make it good. That's what that means. A lot of times people make their life difficult because they keep saying, oh, should I not? Should I not? And that splits your energy and really drains you of energy. Okay, so now Abraham is saying then, in every particle of the universe there is that which is wanted and the lack of it. By making a decision to orient yourself to look for what is wanted, you will change your vibrational patterns of resistance, and it will not be possible to remain in unwanted situations for long periods of time. When I read this, it had a huge impact on me, these words, this sentence that I've got highlighted here, in every particle of the universe, there is that which is wanted and the lack of it. Oh my God, I could spend a whole hour just talking about this. I'll tell you what I learned when I read this. It shifted the way I looked at the Yin Yang symbol. Everyone's familiar with the Yin Yang symbol, right? It's so common. It's the commonest thing out there. And I started interpreting the Yin Yang in a very different way once I read these words. Because if you look at the Yin Yang, so this is the Yin Yang symbol. If you look at the Yin Yang symbol and you use Abraham's words to interpret this, and you think of this as a particle, this is a particle of the universe. In this particle of the universe, there is that which is wanted and that which is not. And whichever one you focus on will become the whole. So if you are here standing in the light, but you focus on the darkness, then the darkness starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. The darkness starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger until it eats up all the light and you end up with this. Or you could end up with this by focusing on the light. If you're standing in the middle of darkness and you start focusing on the light, then the light will become bigger and bigger and bigger and you'll end up with this. But there will always be contrast. You can never eliminate contrast. In the middle of darkness there is light, and in the middle of light there is darkness. And that just completely changed the way I looked at things. So this is in the book Thrive. It is also posted as an article on my website. So if you want to read that for more detail, you can. I really took those words to heart. And that's where you can also start seeing how there's always contrast. There's like the seasons change. Night follows day. You know, sun follows moon. There's always contrast. And you can make the choice what you're going to focus on. That choice, the universe never chooses for us. We make the choice. The decision-making power rests with us. It does not, the universe does not decide for us. All right, so then the next question that, actually I'm going to stop here and ask you if you have any questions. Anyone here have any questions?
No, but this is probably my favorite section so far.
I'm going to say, hazard a guess, as they say, Andrew, that as we proceed through the book, you're going to end up saying that many times about many sections.
You just reminded me of like 100 different things. Yeah, I haven't read this in a long time.
Yep. Rochelle is saying, oh, Mom Zara, you figured out early how to navigate authority. Yes, I did. I did. From time to time, I would forget, Rochelle, but I always went back to it. And Rebecca is saying, I appreciate what you said with the example of the person seeing injustice on the playground and saying something about it. This happened to me today recently where I work. I see a lot as integrative companion, just ignore, say Abraham, I understand, and still integrating. Yes, so you know what really helped me, Rebecca, is that because of being an empath, I had a bleeding heart. Anyone had a problem, my heart bled for them. And from understanding law of attraction, the shift that happened is that I started understanding I don't need to bleed for anyone else, because everybody has guidance exactly the same way I have, and everyone can make decisions exactly the same way I can. I am no different than anyone else, and no one is powerless because everyone has God. Everyone has the universe backing them up. And they need to trust in that, because no matter how much I stand on my head to change things for them, things will not change for them until they change. I'll give you a bleeding heart example from my life. I had this girl in my class. We were both pre-medical students, and she was born with a hole in her heart. I forget what that condition is called. A lot of children are born with that condition, and you can fix it really easily these days surgically. So first of all, my heart bled for her because of that, and then she had some trouble at home where her brother was involved in an accident, very severe accident, and so my heart really bled for this girl. She said that I was very good at school, and so she said, "Can you help me with school, because I'm going through this stuff and I just can't focus on getting all my practicals done and hand in my lab work." So do you know what I did? I did her lab work for her. I did my lab journal and her lab journal for a whole year. And she still failed. So the thing is, you can't fix things for people. No matter how much you give, you can't fix things for people until they fix them. It's crazy.
Oh, I wanted to say, I really appreciate being here. It was really random how Andy reached out and sent me the link, so I just wanted to really appreciate this group. This is awesome. I don't have the book yet, but I'm going to get it, and I definitely feel like I was divinely meant to hear this session, because he talked about so many things that just really hit home, like especially, like, thank you so much for talking about the ritual versus the process, because I too was on YouTube and a video popped up, and it was like this law of attraction manifestation, and it even said, I don't know why it didn't click in my head that it was Wiccan. It was like money ritual, and this girl, and she has like millions of followers, just like you said. It was like, write this stuff down on a piece of paper, rip it out, put money in it, fold it 3 times, put a crystal on it. When she said crystal, she lost me, because I'm not into that stuff. And just thank you for that reminder, because you don't know what you're tapping into with all of that stuff. So thank you so much for that reminder.
You are most welcome.
Because you never know what you're being protected from. So thank you so much for that. And then also the relief versus joy. That definitely hit home. Like, I don't think I want to be more mindful of what you're saying. Like, am I feeling relieved right now? Or am I actually in a joyful state right now?
Exactly.
And then what you said about not getting involved, like, with other people's stuff, that happened to me. Like, I had a close group of friends, and a couple of them were, like, really gossiping about the other one's husband and their marriage and all of this stuff. And then just like you, I had my little bleeding heart open, and I felt so bad, and I went and told her, and then, because I thought I was doing the right thing, and then they turned on me, like, how dare you tell, and blah, blah. And I was like, wait, whoa, like, I was trying to, like...
Exactly. That's exactly what I said.
And I was like, never again.
Never again. Like, that's how the messenger gets killed, right?
I was like, never again. Because they made it out like I was the bad person.
Yes.
And I was like, I was actually the only person who wasn't gossiping. And I went to I was trying to be good. And I was like, you know what? Never again.
Never again.
So thank you so much for this session, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
I'm happy you're here. At those times, Candy, the words are, I care but not that much. I care but not that much.
That's my new motto. That is my new motto.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
I care but not that much. Not so much that I'm going to make your problem my problem. Not so much. Your problem, You see, here's the thing. When we see someone as helpless, we are in effect saying that they don't have source, they don't have guidance, they don't have the resources of the universe behind them. And that's wrong. Because I cannot replace for you, my friend, no matter how much I love you, I can't replace your source. I can't provide you with the guidance source would provide you. I don't have the resources that source has. So my stepping in to help you is useless. You have to find your own connection. So I'm not going to spend my energy on you. Not my job. And taking it a step further is to differentiate when you are doing it from a place of love because you have been inspired. Because sometimes we are inspired to do things for other people. That inspiration doesn't accompany a bleeding heart. If you feel you have a bleeding heart, you feel sorry for someone, you always ever feel sorry for someone when you are yourself low on the emotional scale. The other day, I was talking to someone I was coaching, and she told me that she was having trouble with her brother. Upon further examination, I found that she had hired her brother in her business because he was jobless and she felt sorry for him. And I was like, okay, so that's where the problem started, right? You can't, if you feel sorry for someone, don't do that thing. Don't do it from feeling sorry for them. Do it from a place of love and excitement. That's different. It's a very different way of feeling and doing, and has very different results attached to it. What happens when people get, create these groups where they are anti this and anti that? They're feeling sorry for someone. They are feeling that people are powerless. No, because by doing that, they are putting out the fact that these people are powerless. That's not what you want to put out into the universe. You want to put out the fact that people are powerful and can have, be, or do anything they want. Right? It takes me back to Mother Teresa's famous words. I am not going to protest against, but when you have a march for peace, I will join you. Right? So that difference of how we look at things, how we say things, that difference is truly, really important. And that's really what we are talking about over here, is that pushing back never helps. And thinking that someone else is powerless never helps. Going back to that playground example, I can see the bullying happening, and I can say to myself, this person who is being bullied has the wherewithal. I don't have to go and complain on their behalf. They can lodge their own complaint, right? And if they don't have the, if they're not high enough on the emotional scale to do so, then even if I go and do it, they're still staying at the same place on the emotional scale, so it's not going to work out well for them. It's going to make things worse. And Candy, in that example that you gave, that's what it is. Your friend that you went and you tried to help was at a low place. So you could not have helped her.
Exactly. You're 1,000% right. 1,000%. That's exactly what happened. Yep.
Yeah. It's when we start understanding law of attraction and how it works, you start seeing all these connections, and your perspective of everything changes. It's amazing. I love it. All right. Jerry's next question. The heading is, must a negative childhood lead to a negative adulthood? Jerry says, so a child could be negatively influenced by a parent, but that doesn't have to be a continuing influence through the adult life of the child, does it? In other words, that's an individual decision that can be made at any time by that child who is now an adult. And Abraham says, it is very clear by the way you have worded your questions here that you believe that the small child has little or no control in relationship to the older, bigger adult. This is really fun part. And so you are delaying your expectation of things getting better for this child until he becomes an adult and can gain control of his own life and make his own decisions. But that's not true. Children have the same power as an adult. Just because they are smaller doesn't make them less powerful. In many cases, children are more powerful because they are more aligned. All right. So, I am not going to skip anything in this section because I just found it illuminating. So, as an adult reading this book, you are in a position where you can consciously make your vibrational relationship with your inner being your highest priority by getting into the vortex of well-being and positively controlling everything about your life experience. But there's another way of looking at this. As a child, even a child in a negative situation who seems to have little control of your own experience, you have a better relationship between the physical you and the non-physical you than most adults. In other words, for most, the vibrational variance between your two vibrational aspects is much less in the early days of your life than in the later years because you pick up and continue more and more resistant thoughts as you move through time. That is why most children are much happier than most adults, even though they seemingly have far less control. Isn't that interesting? So I love what Abraham said. You know, I see children doing this. Children like the age of my two children. When I leave home, or I've got to leave home so that my parents stop controlling me. When I leave home, then I will be free. So even the child themselves is putting it off because they think they'll have more power when they are older. And that's not true. Children have a lot of power. So, Abraham says, we want you to understand that at any point when you make the decision to be consciously aware of the relationship between your vibrational vantage points, which means anytime you decide that how you feel is of utmost importance to you, you can come into alignment. You can access the energy that creates worlds. You can fulfill your reason for being, and you can live happily ever after. And that is the same for everyone, whether you are a child or a grown-up. But until you decide to focus your thoughts into alignment with the source within you, you will not feel good. A joyful life is not about gaining control of the factors that surround you. A joyful life is about coming into alignment with who you are. Joy is not about controlling other people or circumstances. Joy is about controlling your own vibrational relationship between the physical you and the non-physical you. It is alignment with source that is joy or love or success or satisfaction. I love this last paragraph. Joyful life is about coming into alignment with who you are. Joy is not about controlling other people or circumstances. This person has to call me, otherwise he or she doesn't value me. There's no joy in that thought, right? It's not the perspective of source. A lot of times people do that. They want people to behave in certain ways so that they can feel good. and all of that is low on the emotional scale. All right, we still have a few minutes, so I'm going to continue and finish this next heading. Blaming past suffering magnifies current suffering. Jerry. There are a large number of adults who are experiencing trauma in their lives who believe that their parents are the root of their current problems. As long as they continue to blame their parents, won't they continue to experience problems? Abraham says, for adults to be able to use something from their distant past, such as from their childhood, as their reason for not feeling good in their present, it is necessary to keep that unpleasant thought alive and active in their vibration. Whether their unpleasant memory is about a parent, a sibling, a bully at school, or an angry teacher, it is only their continued thought about that relationship that would cause it still to be an issue years later. And that's what it means when Abraham says, whether you're thinking about the present, the past, or the future, you're doing it now. 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 And now is the most important thing. This now moment is the most important thing, because this now moment is creating your future. So it's the vibration that you send out into the universe. That is the most important thing. Whether you're thinking about the past, the now, or the future, doesn't matter. What perspective are you adopting? And that's where I teach the 6 thinking choices. There are only 6 thinking choices. Now positive, future positive, past positive. Now negative, future negative, past negative. At any one point in time, we are picking one of those choices to think our thoughts. And most of the times, people go past negative, or they go future negative. It's always been like this, Zara. He has always been like this, or she has always been like this. She's not going to change now. So in that one sentence, there's both past negative and future negative, and now negative. He or she has always been like that, is like that now, and will never change. So then you're stuck, because it can never change, because that's what you're telling the universe. All right. So moving along. So Abraham says, we would define a belief as a thought you continue to think. In other words, whatever you're focused upon, thinking about, speaking about, observing, remembering, or contemplating, whether it is about your past, present, or future, that thought vibration is active right now. And that's what we just talked about. When your current thought is not resonating with what your inner being knows about the subject, your negative emotion indicates the disharmony. So when I think about this person, I feel bad. That means the person is bad for me. No, 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 no. That's not what it means. I used to think about it in those terms as well until I started understanding Abraham's teachings. If you're feeling bad, that doesn't mean the person is wrong for you or bad for you, or the thing that you're looking at is bad for you. What it means is that your way of looking at it is off. You're not looking at it the way Source would be looking at it. So in fact, if you think somebody is wrong for you, your Source is saying, no, that's not true, which is the opposite interpretation from the one that you were making. Because Source never sees anything wrong with anything. Hi, Rebecca, Roberta, good to see you guys. And there's a question. Rebecca is saying, so I'm not here to help anyone. Such a paradigm shift for me still. How to make decisions? I'm realizing that I often make decisions based on what others need and want. Sweetheart, Rebecca, yes, we all, or a lot of us, including myself, were in that boat and are still in that boat. What happens is, at this stage in life, it's a little bit different than if we were children. If we had not yet trained people into a certain behavior. Let me explain. What I'm trying to say is that as we are growing up, we train those relationships that are in our life to expect certain behaviors from us. And when we learn about law of attraction, we start understanding, oh, I didn't have to do it that way all those years that I was doing it that way. And now I want to change. And I don't want to do it anymore. But it's a really difficult place to be in, because if you now try to change, people are going to be upset with you. And when people are upset with you, then you're going to be upset with yourself. So this is where, before making any outward change, you have to make an inward change. So let's take an example. Let's say that you have a friend who always gives you something to do that they don't want to do. And when they do that, it always messes up your own workload. But you do it because you think that if you start saying no, then you will lose this friend. This friend will no longer remain your friend. And then you come to this place where you discover law of attraction. And you're like, oh, well, I'm letting this relationship control me, because I feel bad every time my friend asks me and puts more workload on me. I feel bad because it messes me up, but I'm not able to say anything to the friend. I'm not able to say no. And I really should not do this anymore. I should start saying no. So next time your friend comes along and they say, oh, here you go, can you look after this for me? I don't have the time. And you turn around and you say, and you think I have? I don't have any time either. I can't do this for you. Do it yourself. Now, in those words, there is pushback. Why is there pushback? Because you haven't done the work internally on this subject, to be able to be high on the emotional scale at a place of love and joy when you say what you want to say. So you're saying it from a place of pushing back, from a place of, how dare you ask me to do this for you again? Don't you think I have my own stuff to do? Now, there's anger in that. There's frustration in that. Where are those emotions? They're not high on the emotional scale. So it cannot go well. Your friend will not take it well. And you're going to get this result because you now understand law of attraction, but you haven't actually used law of attraction to become stable at a high place on the emotional scale. So what you actually need to do is to say, okay, I'll do it. I'll do this because I need time to work on my emotions. I'm not in an emotionally balanced place just now. So I am going to not rock the boat just now. I'm going to do this one more time while I work on my vibration, because I have to be able to say no with love. I have to be able to put my arms around my friend and say no instead of being angry, coming from a place of anger. You have misused me for all these years and I put my foot down and I will not do this anymore. That's not love. So how do I have to do it? First, I have to let go the past and not blame my friend and not blame myself either. Let it go. It doesn't matter. I did what I knew how to do at that point in time. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to let it go. And now I'm going to decide whether this friendship is worth it to me. Is it worth it for me to be in love with this person? What does this friendship do for me? All right, I have decided. I truly do value this friendship. I truly do like this person. I truly do want this person to continue being my friend. So then I'm going to breathe. I'm going to let the past go. And I'm going to talk about all the things that I love and enjoy about this person, because of which I want to retain this friendship. And then I'm going to go and put my arms around this person, and I'm going to say, you know what? I care about you for so many reasons. I care about you for this reason, and this reason, and this reason, and this reason. And I am so thankful that you are in my life. But I have to let you know that I am not going to be able to do this for you. It's just not, I'm just not feeling that I'm up to the task. So, I know you've been used to my helping you, but it takes a lot out of me. And at this point in time, if I take this on, I really won't be able to manage. So now you have planted the seed of change, but you've done it from a place of love. It can't go wrong. Your friend can't dislike you for this, because you're coming to them from a place of love. And that's the difference. A lot of times what happens with people, and this is what happens with a lot of people who start using the word, what was the word I was using earlier on? Authenticity, yes. People who decide to be authentic is that they think that they will be happy even if they annoy someone. But you cannot be happy if you annoy someone. You always have to go up the emotional scale, because when you act from that place, the other person cannot be annoyed with you. So you will not be bringing them down the emotional scale, nor will you come down the emotional scale. It will be a win-win. And that is the reason why in corporate circles, win-win is talked about so much. You should want to win, but you should also want the other person to win. How? Win how? Win emotionally. Not materialistically, emotionally. Because here's the thing. The materialistic win is a byproduct of the emotional win. Write that down. The manifested win is a byproduct of the emotional win. So if you can win emotionally and you can help that person also win emotionally, meaning both of you come out feeling good, now good things will happen for both of you, because good things happen when people feel good. And that's what a win-win is all about. All right, folks, we are at the end of our time commitment. If anyone has a question, I'm happy to respond. Otherwise, I will close the call.